Live every day as if it were the last, because before you know it, time goes past and life's just not that long. Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone.
My beloved friend Daniel from Martineztown was my only Albuquerque friend ever to visit me on my family farm in Illinois. Daniel was 22 then. It was summer 1984. Daniel came to visit me to get away from the drugs in Albuquerque. Daniel met my dad. My mother had died 2 years before. And Daniel's first night there, he and I walked 4 miles under the bright moon. Daniel told me he wished he could be as open as I am. I showed Daniel his bedroom that first night, upstairs in our old farmhouse where my mother had been born in that house in 1907. And then I went to my bedroom. I heard Daniel go to the bathroom. And when he was going back to his room, I asked him if he wanted to lie down beside me in my bed. Daniel came in. He lay down for an instant. And then he got up and he went to his room. The next day, Daniel told me he felt like screaming last night. My dad, who slept downstairs, would have freaked out if Daniel had screamed. My dad just met Daniel hours before. And one day, Daniel called me into the bathroom. Daniel was sitting on the stool. He had a magnificent, naked, huge hard-on. Daniel was offering his cock to me to suck, but I did not suck his cock. And later I went into his room and I explained to Daniel why I had not sucked his cock. I told Daniel I am attracted to him. I was very attracted to him. But I knew how changeable he was. I did not want him to think less of me or less of himself or of our sex together if I had sucked his cock. Daniel worked some in my dad's business driving trucks. Daniel had part in a local theater play. I introduced him to many people. Daniel and I went to a nude beach in Wisconsin. And I told him how attracted I was to him. Yes, I definitely wanted to have sex with him, but not if he would have shame and guilt afterward. I wanted to have sex with him if he would want it and enjoy it. And if our having sex together would bring us closer as friends and not become something he would later wish he had never done. And after Daniel returned to Albuquerque, he did drugs. He got arrested on drug-related charges. Sadly, he did many years locked up. But May 31st, 2011, when Daniel was 49, he visited me here in Albuquerque. He told me that day he wanted sex with me for the first time, but not a relationship. And Daniel said that day, if I told anyone, he would kill me and maybe kill himself. I told him I want to celebrate sex with a friend, not keep it as a poison secret to keep him from killing me and himself. Daniel and I did not have sex. We talked about his experiences in Illinois 27 years before. And when Daniel walked out my door that day, he said, I love you. Maybe the only time since we met 39 years before that he said to me, I love you. 2 days later, Daniel was dead. He was murdered in the street. And I was devastated. I deeply loved my dear, close friend, Daniel. And I dedicate this program to him. For millions of years, dead plants, dead animals became coal, oil, and natural gas underground. And now the burning of that coal, that oil, natural gas, releases huge amounts of carbon into the Earth's atmosphere, causing the climate crisis. We each need to change now to enjoy living simply on much less, to save plant, animal, and human life on earth. All plant, all animal, all human life is in severe danger with this worsening climate crisis. A man beaten horribly as a kid by his alcoholic father learned to endure those beatings with not even a whimper. Why? To not give his father the satisfaction of seeing his pain. And as a grown man, he is not able to show any sign of pain or sorrow. He buried those feelings decades before inside, not wanting to show to his dad beating him. And many people think this man is cold, but he says they have no idea what goes on inside him. Adults cannot beat kids into being good. Hell no. Hitting kids beats evil deeper into them. Hitting kids teaches them, make people obey you out of fear and pain. Hitting kids teaches them, hit those you love when you are angry. Hitting kids teaches them not to respect their own bodies and not to respect other people's bodies. Many kids beaten or abused in other ways. Many kids cursed and neglected. Later abuse their bodies with booze, cigarettes, street drugs, junk food. Many kids beaten, abused, cursed, neglected grow up to abuse other people in family violence, street gangs, and the worst gang of all, as soldiers waging war. Exercise alone is not enough to be healthy. Exercise is very important, but it's not enough. We need to eat only healthy food. Raw, organic plant foods are best. The man Jim Fixx, F-I-X-S, wrote one of the most popular books on exercise entitled The Complete Book of Running. It was on bestseller lists for almost 2 years in the late 1970s. The Complete Book of Running by Jim Fixx, F-I-X-X. Until his mid-30s, Jim Fixx smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day. He weighed 220 pounds, but at 35, he stopped smoking. And soon he was running 80 miles a week, including marathons. Jim Fixx lost all that damn fat, but sadly, he did not change much what he ate. In his book, Jim Fixx quoted a doctor who said that any non-smoker fit enough to run a marathon in less than 4 hours will never suffer a fatal heart attack. Well, that doctor was damn wrong. Jim Fixx's father had died at 43 from a heart attack. But Jim Fixx believed, as the doctor said, that running daily and not smoking would protect him. But Jim Fixx, the nation's leading advocate at the time on the health benefits of running, tragically died of a massive heart attack while running. He was only 52, and 3 of his heart arteries were more than 70% blocked. One was 99% blocked. Exercise is very important. Exercise is necessary to be healthy, but exercise cannot make up for eating unhealthy crap. We need exercise and we need only healthy food. Raw plant foods, preferably organic, are best. The first time I had sex with any male was in 1976 when I was 31. He sucked me off, or I sucked him off. It's a hazy memory. Not long after that, I had the wonderful pleasure of being fucked by another young man here in Albuquerque. I don't remember his name, but he was a master fucker. He took his time. He was gentle. I forget if I had told him it was my first time being fucked by a man. And I wish every man fucking a man would be like he was to me. So very different from being fucked by a man who does not give a damn about how the man he is fucking feels. Whether he is enjoying it or hating it or suffering. Many years later, I greatly enjoyed dear Jose fucking him many times. Fucking Jose many times. And Jose was bisexual from Mexico. He never fucked me. I wish he had. But he fucked women and he fucked younger men. I was in love with Jose, this bisexual young man from Mexico. I met him when he was 23, met him at the Spence Hot Springs up in Miami. I think in 1991. I licked Jose's asshole, I guess every time before fucking him. And my friend Steve here in Albuquerque had taught me the pleasure of having my asshole licked. Steve taught me that wonderful pleasure. I loved Jose deeply. I was in love with him. And Jose will always have a special place in my heart. Sadly, he got involved some with drugs. And Jose was never mean, never disrespectful to me. But he was not a citizen here. He had a green card, but because he was arrested, he lost his green card and was put in prison, later deported. And sadly, I do not know if he's dead or alive. Am I ashamed of speaking on television and YouTube about fucking a man and being fucked by a man? Hell no. Why would I be ashamed of the intense pleasure of fucking a man or being fucked by a man if both men are enjoying it? I would be damn ashamed as hell of giving pain, bruises, injuries, concussions to men in football, boxing, mixed martial arts. God is not going to stop the climate crisis. Billions of people praying to God are not going to stop the climate crisis. We human beings have caused the climate crisis. And it's too late now to stop the climate crisis, but we can slow down the climate crisis if we wake up. And if we make, each of us, huge changes in how we live. We can slow down the climate crisis if we wake up and if we stop eating meat and dairy, if we travel much less, we can slow down the climate crisis if we wake up and if we stop owning cars and flying in planes, if we stop making more babies. Do you think we need more people on earth than 8 billion when the estimated human population only reached 1 billion about 200 years ago? We can slow down the climate crisis if we live much more simply. And I enjoy immensely living simply below the U.S. poverty level. We can do it. I do it. And so can you if step by step, maybe not overnight, but little by little, making these huge changes in how you live. God is not going to prevent nuclear war. God is not going to stop Sandia and Los Alamos weapons lab from making those damn weapons of mass murder. Billions of people praying to God are not going to prevent nuclear war. God did not stop the United States from atom bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan in August 1945. The United States murdered over 140,000 people in those bombings. The United States is the only nation on earth that has atom bombed cities. I damn U.S. presidents threatening to use nuclear bombs at least 32 times. At least 32 times since 1945, when the U.S. atom bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I damn all war by any nation. I damn Putin's mass murder in Ukraine. I damn the U.S. and Israel's mass murder of up to 200,000 kids, women, men, Palestinians in Gaza. Are U.S. mass murders in war less evil than Putin's mass murders in war? I damn the U.S. mass murders of 3 to 5 million of people in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. I damn the U.S. supplying billions of dollars of weapons to murder Palestinians. I damn the U.S. murder of hundreds of thousands of people in El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, decades ago. I damn Obama's murder by drones of many people in Afghanistan, Yemen, Pakistan. Putin's war against Ukraine is fueling hatred and revenge against the Russian government. The U.S. mass murder of millions in many nations under both Republican and Democrat presidents fuels hatred and revenge toward the U.S. government. As Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. said 58 years ago, the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government. Sadly, many nations commit horrendous evil, But the U.S. government is the worst of all, stealing the resources, the cheap labor of smaller nations, and murdering millions of people in many nations for many, many, many years. Here are strong reasons not to eat meat. And I eat no meat. I quit eating meat, I guess, back in the 80s, around 40 or more years ago. Meat has no fiber for us to shit well. No fiber. Meat has no fiber to remove poisons in our bodies through our shit. Pesticides, bug killers, concentrate in meat and dairy of animals that were fed crops that had been sprayed with poison pesticides. Radiation concentrates in meat and dairy more than in plant foods, fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, leafy greens. Hormones and antibiotics that are fed to many cattle and chickens are given to make those cattle and chickens gain weight to make faster money for the farmers. And the residue of those hormones and antibiotics in meat and dairy can make people fatter and lower immunity to disease, make it easier to catch stuff. Animals on factory farms suffer more cruelty, caged in small spaces, with heavy stress, no sunshine. Why kill any animal for food when nutritious plant foods are available? Now, don't get me wrong. If I were starving, actually starving, and had no healthy plant foods to eat, yes, I would eat meat if available. Raising cows and pigs and chickens for their meat and dairy is one huge cause of the climate crisis. The water, the fertilizer, the soil erosion, the methane from cattle farting, the refrigeration needed to store that meat and dairy, all of those harm our only home, Mama Earth. Farmers growing corn, soybeans, oats to feed animals, and then people eating those animals. But that same amount of land that is used to grow the corn, the soybeans, the oats, for the animals to eat, could feed far more people when people eat raw plant foods, fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts, healing herbs, greens. Meat and dairy often cause or worsen these conditions. Many kinds of cancer. Meat and dairy often cause or worsen osteoporosis, making weaker bones. So if older people fall, they're more likely to break a leg, break a hip. Meat and dairy often cause or worsen kidney stones, kidney disease. My mother died of kidney disease. Meat and dairy often cause or worsen heart disease, strokes, high blood pressure, diabetes. Meat and dairy often cause or worsen constipation, hemorrhoids, stomach ulcers, gallstones, asthma, arthritis. How many reasons do you need to stop the damn meat and dairy? I have eaten no meat for around 40 years or more. And I grew up on our family farm in Illinois, 100 miles west of Chicago. And my father, my mother, owned the oldest cattle and pig auction in that county in Illinois. And sadly, I worked in that business part-time for years. It's a very, very cruel business in how we treated animals. Awful. If I had my life to live over knowing what I know now, I would aim to change many things. And participating in that cruelty to those animals would be one thing I would hope to change. A woman wrote, "I was a faithful wife for 26 years. My husband made love the way he did everything else, mechanically, without attempting to invest himself in the process and expending as little energy as possible to get the job done. And this is also the way he played the role of son, husband, father, employee. But after we parted," this woman says, "I met someone else. He approached making love the way he approached life, with joy and enthusiasm. This man who was caring, generous, inventive, over and above his own physical pleasure, his gratification, he wanted to give me the greatest pleasure possible." And she says, "If I had not met that man, I would have died without knowing what good sex was." She says the real difference was that one partner played me like a Stradivarius, a very expensive, well-made violin, while the other was just fiddling around. A parent wrote, "8 years ago, I found my son's body in the street. He had been killed by a hit-and-run driver on the way home from school. And since then, I have met with many other mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers who have lost loved ones. And all of them agree with me on this. Please, please talk about the person we have lost, even if the mention of his name causes us to cry a little. It's a joy to speak of my son and to know that he has not been totally forgotten. I'm hurt when people who knew him never mention his name. It's as if these people are trying to pretend that my son never existed. To deny that this beautiful child was an important part of our lives is impossible and unrealistic. We may not be able to control what happens to us, death, accidents, life's blows, but we do have a choice as to how we deal with our losses. And Viktor Frankl, a respected psychiatrist, survived a Nazi concentration camp. How? Because of his great love for his wife who died there. Frankel was determined not to let the Nazis destroy his spirit or his will to live. He kept himself alive by speaking about his beloved wife. She was a key to his survival. How important it is for those of us who have suffered losses to speak of the loved ones dead, to recall the good times, and to know that others remember them as well. Donovan Archambault was 11 years old in 1950 when he was sent from an Indian reservation in Montana to a government-backed Native American boarding school in South Dakota, where abusive staff forced him to abandon his community's language and customs. And I wonder if any of those church people and those government people who kidnap Native children from their homes, their tribes, their families, and put them in boarding schools, realized, at least later, that they were raping these children of family connections, raping them of their culture. Archambault emerged bitter from what he suffered in that boarding school. He said he drank booze for more than 20 years to drown his shame, his memories, his awful abuse. And finally, he pulled his life together. He earned a master's degree in education. He served as chairman of the Fort Belknap tribes. And he says, it was probably the most brutal time of my whole life. It all stemmed from the trauma we suffered in that Indian school, a boarding school, run largely by white people who were raping those children of their culture and their deep family tribal connections. For over 150 years, Native children were officially kidnapped from their communities, forced into boarding schools, abusing those students. Why? To turn them white as much as possible. Religious and private institutions ran many of those schools, received funding from the U.S. government as partners in government programs to so-called civilize the Native American students. Civilize? Hell no. It was official kidnapping and horrible abuse. The effects of that trauma have rippled through the generations of Native people, causing alcoholism, drug addiction, sexual abuse on the reservations even today. The Interior Department of the U.S. identified 408 government-backed schools in 37 states or then territories, including Alaska and Hawaii. The schools renamed children from their Native American names to English names. The schools organized them into military drills, compelled them to do manual labor, farming, brick making, working on the railroad system. At least 500 children died in those schools, according to an official report. A figure that is expected to get much larger as research continues. Stories of being punished for speaking their native language, getting locked in basements, their hair being cut to stamp out their identities. They were sometimes subjected to solitary confinement, kids, to beatings, not being fed. And many left the schools with only basic vocational skills that gave them few job prospects. A Northern Cheyenne elder said she and her classmates faced worsening punishments for speaking their home language. First time, they would get hit with a ruler on the back of the hand. After a second offense, they'd have to turn their hand over to get hit on the palm. Another offense brought a strike to the back or head. And that was child abuse right there, she said. But no one ever went to jail for it. Archibald said many of his classmates did not survive long enough to tell their stories. Instead, they became victims of suicide, of booze, and violence that he traces back to how they were treated in those schools. The words of the prophet Martin Luther King Jr., he said, "Our economy must become more person-centered than profit-centered. The evils of capitalism are as real as the evils of racism." And exactly 1 year before he was assassinated, Prophet Martin Luther King said on April 4th, 1967, "My experience in the ghettos of the North, as I've walked among the desperate, the rejected, the angry young men in those ghettos, I've told them that Molotov cocktails and rifles would not solve their problems. I've tried to offer them my deepest compassion while maintaining my conviction that social change comes most meaningfully through nonviolent action. Nonviolent action. But, they asked, and rightly so, what about Vietnam? They asked if our own nation wasn't using massive doses of violence to solve its problems, to bring about the changes it wanted. And their questions hit home, says Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. And I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own government." Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. goes on to say, "The nations of this world are engaged in a bitter, colossal contest for supremacy. I'm sad to say that the nation in which we live is the supreme culprit." He says that we're criminals in that war. We are called to speak for the weak, for the voiceless, for victims of our nation, and for those it calls enemy. So far, we may have killed 1 million of them, mostly children. What do they think as we test our latest weapons on them? Just as the Germans tested out new tortures in the concentration camps of Europe? This business of burning human beings with napalm, of filling our nation's homes with orphans and widows, of sending men home from dark and bloody battlefields, physically handicapped, psychologically deranged, cannot be reconciled with wisdom, justice, and love. Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I definitely feel that the development and use of nuclear weapons should be banned. It cannot be disputed that a full-scale nuclear war would be utterly catastrophic. Hundreds of millions of people would be killed outright by the blast and heat." And by the ionizing radiation produced at the instant of the explosion. And even countries not directly hit by bombs would suffer through global fallouts. And so he says, all of this leads me to say that the principal objective of all nations must be the total abolition of war, to prevent, to stop all war in all nations. War must be finally eliminated, or the whole of mankind will be plunged into the abyss of annihilation. And we here in Albuquerque, because of Kirtland Air Force Base, Sandia Weapons Lab, if another nation targeted the United States, sadly, our city would be one of their main targets. From Africa, words of wisdom. Nelson Mandela said, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa said, "Nuclear weapons are an obscenity." Obscene. They're the very opposite of humanity, of goodness in the world. What security do they help establish? An African proverb, if you want to go quickly, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. If you go to the hospital as a patient, do not give away your body and your life to doctors and nurses. Stand up for yourself. And if you are not able to speak and mentally stand up for yourself, have friends or family, if possible, stand up for you. to the doctors and nurses. Watch carefully everything that the doctors and nurses do, and question politely. Don't be a pain in the ass, but question politely everything. If you give in to everything they tell you, and if you do not question, you or your loved ones are more likely to die in the hospital. And we all make many mistakes. Doctors and nurses, especially when they work long hours under much stress, make many mistakes, killing thousands of people a year in this nation. People not living healthy, people not eating healthy kills many more thousands. People not living healthy, not getting enough sunshine, not enough sleep, not enough exercise. People not eating healthy is why most people are in the hospital in the first place. Take charge of your body. Take charge of your health. Your life depends on it. And even if you live like hell and you live long, you may suffer many, many years before you die. I hope I never am a patient in a hospital again. I hope for the rest of my life. But time will tell. We can never, never know or say for sure. Tomorrow is not guaranteed to anyone on earth. If we're 7 or 97, rich or poor, today is the day we have to help others, to be healthy, to enjoy life. I enjoy sucking the cocks of certain men, giving them pleasure. And I enjoy having certain men suck my cock. So why would any man who enjoys having his cock sucked by a woman or by a man, why would any man who enjoys having his cock sucked call anyone a cocksucker to put him down and to insult him? I want to use the word fuck as a blessing, not a curse. Why would any woman or any man who enjoys being fucked by certain men use the word fuck as a curse? Why would any man who enjoys fucking certain men or certain women use the word fuck as a curse? I want to use it as a blessing. Carrots. I eat a lot of carrots. And you might wonder, well, how in the hell is he able? I have no teeth. Well, I blend them along with other ingredients. Carrots can help cancer. Carrots can help digestion. Carrots can help lose the fat. Carrots can help both constipation and diarrhea to make you regular. Carrots can help insomnia so you can sleep better. Carrots can help high blood pressure. Carrots can dissolve kidney stones. Carrots can help our hair, our nails, our eyesight. Carrots can help the adrenal glands, stomach ulcers, infections, the liver, acne, arthritis. Carrots can help cataracts, asthma, energy. Eat several raw carrots every day. Every day. Chew them if you're able, if you have good teeth, or blend them as I do. Do not juice carrots. We need the fiber of the whole raw carrots. Every day in my blended smoothies, I eat many healing herbs, and garlic is number one, but never cook garlic. Raw garlic is great to fight off all bad germs. Antibiotic drugs often kill the good germs along with the bad germs, and we need the good germs to be healthy. Garlic kills only the bad germs. Garlic helps the good germs. Garlic helps arthritis, high and low blood pressure, colds, flu, congestion, cough, earache, diabetes, gangrene, hepatitis, herpes, all infections, AIDS, tuberculosis, heart disease, pneumonia, insomnia. Garlic is the number one healing herb. Garlic can give us good sleep. Garlic prevents and gets rid of parasites and worms. And people who eat the most garlic have the least cancer. Garlic is good for sex. Eat only raw garlic, not cooked, if you want the best results. Each garlic bulb has sections called cloves, C-L-O-V-E-S, and depending some on the size of the cloves, I eat 3 or more cloves in my blended smoothies every day. Lots of raw garlic plus hot chili pepper become nature's penicillin to stop and to prevent all infections. And I very much thank Mark, Eddie, Travis for helping me many times on the controls, the cameras, with this program. And I invite you to stop me anywhere you see me and talk if you want to. And I love to hug if you want my hugs. So, to your health. My fresh piss.
Tell all you love that you love them so, because even if you do, they might not know, and one day we'll all be gone. Taste the wind, don't let it blow on by. Sing songs of love, let the music get you high, and when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine on. And when it's said and done, you'll know the sun will shine